in today nowadays. And we're talking about the structure, not only statistical techniques. This is a statistical technician model and all this part. But the most important thing when you're talking about understand structural equation modeling is the equation modeling is a multivariate statistical analysis techniques that is used to analyze structure relationship. This technique is combination of factor analysis and multivariate regression analysis, and that is used to analyze structure relationship between measure and latent variable. So before understanding the structural equation modeling, the question comes in mind as that what is talking about multivariate statistics, what is bivariate statistics, why we are using these kind of terms in our structural equation modeling. The first is question is talking about what is multivariate statistics. Can anybody have an idea about this? If I'm showing you this one, anybody have an idea about what is multivariate statistics? Anybody have an idea, rough idea about this? What is this multivariate analysis?
Sir, can I answer?
Yeah, please go, Gaganpreet, please.
Right. Sir, it is basically analysis of multiple variables if we talk about. I'm basically analyzing multiple variables.
Okay, very fine. The first, the aspect is coming out as multivariate analysis is we have to analyze multiple variables or multiple factors to find out anything else. Very fine, good. Anybody have idea about this multivariate analysis? We have two kind
We
of,
study about over more variables.
okay, we
Hello.
have two kind of things. Yes,
So,
Rajesh.
multivariate analysis is a technique used to analyze the data involving multivariate dependent or independent variables.
Very fine, definitely we're talking about. So when I'm talking about multivariate analysis, we call it as when we're talking about simple studies. Let's suppose we want to find out the difference between two variables. Fine. So we apply t-test here. But when we're talking about to finding out impact of anything, so let's suppose my study time is impacting my score. Understood. This is one variable to another variable. This independent variable is my study pattern. If I'm studied 3 hour, 4 hour, 5 hour, it directly impact to my scores. The independent and dependent variable to find out the impact and relationship between two variables, we call it as multivariate. No, this is called bivariate. When you talk about multivariate, when you find out lots of independent factors are depending on some one factor that is called as call it as independent factor is not only your study time, your environment also, your teachers also, your school also, your way of study material also, your concentration also. So we are need to find out that our scores are not only depend upon one factors. Our scores are depend upon multiple factors. On the basis of this, we decide that what is our score is going on. Let's suppose if our study material is not good enough, if I'm spending 5 hours a day, but my study material is not good enough, so we say that the thing is that only one factor is not responsible for dependent variables. There are lots of factors which affecting my dependent variable, my scores, not only my time. It's maybe depend upon the quality of your content, the teacher, and lots of things. When we need to study lots of variables and seeing the impact of all these independent variable on one dependent or two dependent variable, so we call it as we want to study multiple variables. On the basis of this multiple variables, it's not easy to find out multiple variation in all this part. If we want to find out the difference between two variable, we are simply apply t-test, that is find out the difference between two variable as sales of A company and sales of B company. That is simple way. But if you want to find out that what is the overall impact on our scores with the help of different independent variable, we need to talk about multivariate, right? Multi variables are there, need to study, and on the basis of that, we find out that which factor out of 5 or 6 are most important factor or affecting my scores in a very effective manner or significant manner. So maybe if I am collecting my data on the basis of these five parameters, maybe my study factors impact of, maybe my study impact is talking about the time you have given to that in my data set. But when you're collecting your data, maybe in your data set, the content of quality of your this study material is important. So every aspect is very important in this multivariate analysis. So that's why we need to study more than two or three variables, because one variable is not able to talk about a significant impact on dependent variable. So I back to my this screen. So the most important thing is coming here before discussing this. When we talk about our data set, we have different kind of things are there. First, we have talk about our, I hope everybody have you submitted your synopsis or not.
No, sir.
No,
No,
very
sir.
fine. So I'm starting from this part. If you've submitted your synopsis, so I'll tell you the all the things. Now, when we're talking about synopsis, synopsis is talk about your introduction. We're talking about selecting your topic. Can anybody tell me how you select your topic or area of your thesis writing or something? I'll come to that to this one. Yes, anybody tell me that how you select your topic? How you select your thesis topic or research paper topic? Anybody else, please? If
Sir,
you
go to
participate,
various research paper, then analyzes it.
okay, Ritusani, go to various research paper. But what are you able to find out in research paper? You just write down on Google, tell me about research paper, and they will give you the research paper.
Sir, according to our
Bhavna,
No,
interest
sir,
area,
various websites are used.
yeah.
This जैसे सर गूगल स्कॉलर हो गया, रिसर्चगेट हो गया।
These
सर
are
यहाँ
the
पर हम लिख
search
सकते हैं।
engines. Search engines. The most important thing, Ritu, is we have to find out our topic, which is current problem going on in our world. The current problem going in our world, how we find out this? We have to do certain research. We have to do certain analysis part. We have to find out the papers, research papers, articles, all this part. Let's suppose today's problem is plastic. Today's problem is we are not able to understand consumer behavior, because this consumer behavior towards mobile phone is changing day by day. So we need to study it. So on the basis of this study, we are finding out a solution of a problem, that why people are changing their behavior day by day. On the basis of that, or maybe today's AI generation is coming out. So AI generation is talking about why people are not dependent upon each other communication. They're totally dependent on AI. They're asking question to them. So what is the impact of AI on consumer behavior or decision making process? So these are the things today. So we have to first explore the things. So in this part, when we're talking about to identify the problem, sorry, this one is to identify a problem, then be able to decide what is the solution of this, expected solution of this. We need to find out solution of this as a thesis title or solution of the problem. But in this PPT, in this word, you have to talk about multivariate statistics you have understood. Now, the most important thing is that you have to talk about questionnaire. If you want to find out the perception of consumer towards green products, let's suppose, how would you find out? With the help of questionnaire? I hope everybody agree on this part. We have to find out the
Yes,
questionnaire
sir.
here. If we want to
Yes,
find
sir.
out that the impact or perception of consumer towards green products and services, we are not able to find out even a single question that are you satisfied with green products? That is solve my purpose.
No, sir.
If I'm asking single question to you, that whether you are satisfied with green products or not, yes or no, they satisfy my purpose,
No, sir.
then
Various questions, sir.
it will give, yes, very fine. So single question will not able to answer my question. It will not give the perfect inferences or results of my study, which will be implicable in your practical life. So we are talking about, we are creating one questionnaire. On the basis of that questionnaire, we are finding lots of things. We are talking about, if we're talking about perception of organic or green products towards your things. So what we have to find out, we have make certain parameters how we are analyze the perception of a a organic food or a green products among consumer. So we are talking about lots of theories. The theory is one of the famous theory of this consumer behavior is theory of planned behavior. The theory of planned behavior given lots of factors. On the basis of that, you analyze the perception, you analyze the satisfaction, you analyze purchase intention, you analyze a lots of things about this. So everything have theory based things. So we have gone through theory. Now on the basis of that, if you're aware about the statistical tools, after that we apply factor analysis. After applying this, after we are creating our questionnaire, and we find out that we are collecting data. After collecting our data, what we have to do, we have apply one test, we call it as factor analysis. How many people know about factor analysis? Tell me about this, because I cannot start from the beginning our statistics. It takes lots of time to me. That's why I'm giving you just introductory part of this and move towards our structural equation modeling path. When we are
Sir, I have a rough idea.
testing our questionnaire, we apply factor about anybody.
Sir, I have a rough idea about it. Factoring means we
Yeah,
have to divide a particular area into subparts, and then we check like if we have a particular area, we can divide into 4 or 5 parts. Firstly, we will check two parameters, 1 or 2, and 1 and 3, 2 and 3 parameters. We can compare, and then we can analyze the result,
yeah,
sort of
absolutely,
this.
Bhavna. Absolutely, Bhavna, ma'am. It's right way. It's a right way. But if I'm talking about why we apply factor analysis, let's suppose I'm showing you this thing. Let's suppose my variables are these. I have created the questionnaire here. Let's suppose factor, reliability, and all this part. I'm creating certain variables. Like I want to find out something, a technical factor, regulatory factor, human factors. Let's suppose these are my questionnaire. Security and trust factor, intention factors are there. So in this part, sorry for inconvenience. We are just checking our internet. We are changing the place. Okay, very fine. So back to the topic again. So we are talking about why we apply factor analysis. So in this part, we are going to understand this. These are the certain factors, and these factors are related to talking about. If I'm going to understand this, we have to find out that factor affecting the security of electronic payment system. We want to find out that we want to measure actually on the basis of this paper or something else, we able to find out that what are the factors which impacting consumers, which impacting people while they are doing electronic payment. So the certain factors are related to security of electronic payment system. So we want to find out, we actually measure that what is the behavior, what is the factors affecting while people are using electronic payment system. So on the basis of that, I find out this is a problem. People are facing problem in security part because threats are there. And so on the basis of this, what we have to do, we create one questionnaire, we find out certain factors are there. So on the basis of that, we finding lots of factors like this, like technological factors, regulatory factors, human factors, and security and trust factor, user intention factor. So we find out that these are the most important factors according to review of literature. These are the important factor while you are dealing with online payments. So on the basis of that, we create certain factors, and on the basis of these factors, we able to create certain statements, because these factors we cannot directly measure. We can measure with the help of certain statements. If you want to find out, if you want to measure what are the technical factors are there, so single question is not appropriate to ask to the respondent. So we are creating lots of statements. That token based feature make feel you safe. The app use tools that help you fraud. My payment app keep my data safe. All these statements items will able to help me to find out technological factors. Similarly, regulatory factors are there. We are creating lots of statements. So on the basis of that, we are questionnaire. On the basis of these questionnaire, we find out something, we call it as. Now, if I apply, let's suppose t-test, if I apply multiple regression, if I apply ANOVA there, we cannot apply t-test on individual statements. It is very difficult for me to create or apply t-test on individual statements. But we can apply t-test on certain construct. We can apply this multivariate analysis on certain constructs. So the two constructs are there, independent and dependent. So technological factor, regulatory factor, human factor, and these factors are independent variables which impacting your dependent variable is talking about behavior of online payment. Understood. And these are the factors are talking about. So in this part, when you're talking about to understand this CFA and all this part, the factor analysis is divided into two parts. First is exploratory factor analysis. Second is confirmatory factor analysis. So can anybody have idea about what is exploratory factor analysis? देखिए, I'm not talking about the simple statistical variables. I hope that you understand, you might be aware about all these things. So factor analysis is applying to reduce your data, because if I have 36 statements, so I cannot apply all tests on individual statements. If I have 70 statements, so I am not able to apply test on individual 70 statements. So what we have to do, we have to reduce our data. So we are talking about, if these six statements are talking about technology, so we are apply factor analysis and find out that these six statements are talking about technology part. So we are giving a one construct technology. If certain five factors or certain five statements are talking about the human values, so we are come under this. So it is very easy to apply our test on different factors rather than each and every individual statements. So that's why we apply factor analysis to reduce our statements, to reduce our data. So we apply our test on very perfect manner. So we have a combination of factors and we can interpret our result with the help of factors, not statements. So two things are coming under this, EFA and CFA. Have you heard about this word, EFA, CFA? Because it's, if I'm talking about basic part of this, first you're able to understand what is base of structural equation modeling or statistics. So anybody have idea about what is EFA and CFA? Just wait a minute, I'll admit Richard. What is EFA and what is CFA? Rough idea. I know the people, those who are sitting here, research scholars, some are faculty members.
It's an exploratory factor analysis
Okay.
and confirmatory factor analysis. Factor analysis is concerned here, sir. Both
Yes.
are. So,
When we are applying factor analysis, we are applying, or there are two extension of factor analysis, EFA and CFA. Exploratory factor analysis and your confirmatory factor analysis. So when I'm talking about exploratory factor analysis, with the name of this exploratory factor analysis, you understood that we need to explore something. We need to find out something. So when I'm talking about the factor analysis is a family statistical tool which discover to reducing your data, which help you to talking about how you're reducing your data and apply different kind of tests are there. So exploratory factor analysis, confirmatory factor analysis. So when I'm talking about exploratory one, so exploratory in simple words we call it as to explore underlying factor without pure hypothesis. Basically in research, we are working on hypothesis, we are working on predictions, we are working on existing knowledge. Understood. So when I'm talking about existing knowledge, so EFA is talking about we need to explore something which is exist in our society, which exist in our research part, and we are talking about pure hypothetical situations. Let's suppose if I'm talking about the cancer is, the cancer is detected or cancer is occur when people are smoking, when people are drinking, when people are taking toxic air and all this part, when people are eating fast food, junk food, and that food which is not good for the health, we're talking about this. How would you know that? We have to talk about exploring the things. We have to talk about certain assumptions on the basis of that. So when we're talking about exploratory factor analysis, it's talking about we explore new things. We don't know about anything else. हमें कुछ नहीं पता है. We are just assuming that part. The cancer is occur with the help of smoking. The cancer is occur with the help of your diet part. The cancer is occurs when you take toxic airs and all this part. So this is our assumption. And why we are creating this assumption? Because review of literature is talking about this, and we have to prove that statistically whether what is hypothesized by us, what is assumed by us, that is true or false. We are creating hypothesis that there is a significant relationship between increase in smoking and effect on your cancer part. This is the things part. So when we're talking about this EFA is talking about when we are exploring something new on the basis of hypothetical situation, on the basis of some certain assumptions, and on the basis of certain assumptions, we have to find out one thing, that whether these are the factors or not. Because I have find out on the basis of review of literature, and on the basis of that we explore it. Understood? So this is EFA is helpful when it would be help clear theoretical framework or previous research to guide expected about the factor and structure your data. You want to explore new concepts or domain that need more well-defined measures and all this part. And we in this part, exploratory means we have to explore something. This is the way. We are not talking about exact thing which has happened in our review of literature. On the basis of review of literature, we just assume it. Ki on the basis of these studies, these are the factors which affect cancers. These are the factors which increase the marks of the students, and which are the factors which increase the positivity among customer related to organic food products. So it is called as assumption part of this thing, and we assume it, and on the basis of this we create hypothesis, we create hypothetical model, we create conceptual model, and on the basis of this conceptual hypothesis, in future we have to prove it is significantly true or false. Understood? So if it thing is claimed as true, if it is false, we call it as these structure is not factors which is affecting cancers, but right now we find out more factors in that part. So this is called exploratory factor. So we are not able to apply exploratory factor analysis in CFA. In CFA, the CFA is confirmatory factor analysis. This is predetermined, predefined hypothesis factors. Let's suppose in EFA we able to just assume this thing, and these are the maybe factor which affects the cancer or which affect the perception of consumer. But right now it is confirmatory factor analysis is talking about on the basis of previous theories, on the basis of previous review of literature, we want to find out that these are the factors which is already studied by lots of people. Let's suppose example is talking about if you want to find out intention of consumer towards organic food products, let's suppose green products. If you're talking about intention of consumer towards green products, what should we do? Again we're talking about theory, again we're talking about questionnaire. But before this, we find out that can we have any particular scale, can we have any standardized questionnaire to measure intention towards organic food products, or can we have any standardized scale instrument to measure intention? So when we studied theory of planned behavior, in theory of planned behavior, the or researchers have already studied these kind of things. Researchers have already tested reliability, validity of factors. So when I'm talking about intention, intention have three most important factor which is studied so many times, like purchase. Intention means its attitude. Attitude is one factor which helping you to measure your intention. Subjective norms and perceived behavior control. The subjective norm is related to particular sector, field, or item, or your objective. And third is subjective norms. These three are already confirmed by review of literature that if you want to find out the intention of consumer, so you need to study attitude, you need to study your perceived behavior control, you need to study the third one is that. So with the help of these three factors, you able to analyze intention of any sector, any product, and all this part. I hope you understood this till now.
Yes, sir.
Anybody? Yes, you understood the confirmatory factor analysis, which is already tested so many times, and this is confirmed. These are the factors. On the basis of this, we able to find out intention. So these are the factors, but sector is different in future. So what we have to do now, we have to confirm one thing, that whether these factors are applicable in my area or not, right? The three factors are there. So whether when we talking about manufacturing sectors, when we're talking about consumer perception towards AI, when we're talking about customer satisfaction towards mobile phone industry, when we're talking about customer attitude towards online shopping, right? So when I'm talking about these kind of things, every you can say that factor or every theory have certain factors in this part. So we have to talk about either we explore it, we don't know about these factors, we explore new factors. That is exploratory. When we talk about confirmatory factor analysis, it is already exist in our review of literatures, and we have to just verify that whether these factors are applicable in my area or sector or not. So which a variable is indicated or which factors. So in this part, confirmatory analysis is talking about your hypothesized model, you hypothesize things, and whatever you actually measure, they find out the goodness of fit among your hypothesized model and your actual sample data. उसके बीच का जो डिफरेंस है, उसके बीच की जो सिमिलैरिटी है, उसके बीच का जो रिस्पॉन्स है, उसके बीच का जो रिलेशनशिप है, that is need to be understand that whether these factors are really able to find out, really able to measure the intention of consumer towards these sector or not. So we have to उन दोनों की वैल्यू कंपेयर होगी, उन दोनों में कंपैरिजन होगा, उनमें गुडनेस ऑफ फिट मेजर देखेंगे, व्हाट यू प्रपोज्ड एज कंसेप्चुअल पार्ट, व्हाट यू आर एक्चुअली मेजर, whether it is have something goodness of it or not. What you are proposed, analyze again. Your hypothesis model need to be measured or rectify again and again, because your either your hypothesis model is wrong, either you have what you measure through questionnaire, you are not creating a good questionnaire to measure all these things. So reliability and validity come under skepticism. So we have to find out this kind. So especially when we're talking about your structure equation modeling, is verifying whether confirmatory factor analysis, whatever factor you are suggested on the basis of review of literature, that are actual results. So what you need measurement. If I'm asking you one question here, what is the meaning by validity? Certain people have confusion related to validity and reliability. We have to check our questionnaire, and on the basis of this checking, we check validity of questionnaire, we check reliability of questionnaire. So can anybody tell me what do you mean by reliability? First, we have to understand what do you mean by reliability. Anybody have idea? What do you mean by reliability here?
So reliability means when we apply a particular um, result, we get a particular result, we get a same result at the same situation.
Okay, reliability is that.
A
Okay,
repetitive, uh,
validity is.
that's it. And validity is um, measurement of accuracy, मतलब that check the accuracy of the result.
Okay,
सर
very fine.
रिलायबिलिटी
So
मतलब है कि हमें वो चीज क्या है विश्वास करने योग्य होनी चाहिए, और वैलिडिटी का मतलब सर वो चीज क्या है लॉ के अकॉर्डिंग वैलिड होनी चाहिए.
okay, he belongs to law. Tell anyhow. Very fine. Yeah, that not absolutely right, both of you. But now understand the concept of reliability and validity when you're talking about this part. So when I'm talking about reliability, reliability and validity. So in this part, we need to check whether our questionnaire is validatory or reliable or not. Now, I attach single word with reliability and validity. Now, when I talk about reliability, reliability is talking about consistency. We're talking about reliable. Consistency is attached with reliability. It means that whatever instrument we are using to check, to measure the perception, intention, satisfaction, loyalty, whatever we want to find out, whether it is consistent in nature. Our instrument is consistent or not. Another example is consistent means if we are using our instrument in Haryana, let's suppose we have, let's suppose in our instruments or questionnaire we have 30 statements, let's suppose. If I'm collecting data with the help of these 30 statements to find out intention of consumer in Haryana, if we apply this 30 statement in Punjab, if we apply these 30 statement in South India, if we apply these 30 statements in Gujarat, if we apply 30 statements in another state, or well, all these things, whether they are consistently performing or not, whether they are consistently results are coming out or not, whether the people are behaving in a statements, and Haryana people have 30 statements. So reliability means whether your questionnaire is consistent throughout geographical area or not. If I'm asking question to this kind of things, reliability, consistency is there. Second is validity. Validity means what are the 30 statements are going on, whether they are actually measure what you want to measure. Validity means this. Validity means either have 30 statements are there. 30 statements actually measure the purchase intention or not. We need to find out this. If I'm adding 30 statements, but only 5, 6 or 15 statements are showing reliability validity in a perfect manner, and all other things are not showing the validity of this part, it means that if I want to find out intention, so we are taking wrong statements to find out to measure intention. So validity means what you want to measure, your construct, your questionnaire or your statement actually measure this thing or not. Let's suppose I'm giving example of if I'm checking the consumer perception related to electronic products, or maybe EV, electronic vehicles. So my question is, I'm checking the consumer perception towards electronic vehicles. If I'm adding one question there, I are you satisfied, are you talking about the infrastructure of electronic vehicle or the interior of electronic vehicle is good, that's very fine. If I'm asking about one question in my questionnaire that whether you are eat this fast food or not, are you comfortable to eat fast food, are you comfortable to eat non-veg, so can it is measuring what I want to measure in this questionnaire? अगर मैं स्टेटमेंट्स डालता हूँ, क्या वो मेजर करेंगी वो चीजें? नहीं करेंगी. It means that we have to put that kind of statement into our questionnaire which really measure what you want to measure. So validity means whether your questionnaire is measuring what you want to measure actually. That validity of each and every statement is good or not. Reliability is consistency. When you perform this in Haryana, Punjab, and all this part, every time they are performing in a consistent manner and people are understanding it. Validity means whatever statements you're adding in your questionnaire, whether these statements are actually measure your intention, perception or not. So you have to carefully measure these kind of things. That's why we are apply factor analysis. That's why we are checking validity and reliability of questionnaire. So when we are not checking reliability and validity, so in future we are facing lots of problems when we are doing analysis of data. When we are inferences of a data, we are doing wrong perceptions, wrong things, because whatever garbage GIGO, garbage in and garbage out in research. So this is called your EFA and all this part. Now confirmatory factors is, we understood this part. Now question arises here, how to identify the most critical factor that explain variation in your outcomes? How to measure something that is not directly observable? The tests you see are valid and reliability indicators. So we are not able to find out everything else on asking single question, so we required questionnaire. On the basis of questionnaire, we required review of literature, we required hypothesis. On the basis of this questionnaire, we apply factor analysis to check validity and reliability of questionnaire. If validity and reliability of questionnaire is good enough, then we will move away ahead to analyze our whole data. So in this part, these are the simple difference between CFA and FA. The purpose is to explore possible structured data without prior assumptions. We doesn't have exact exemptions. In this part, we have predetermined hypothesis structured. We have well-defined structured. We have to confirm it that these factors are applicable in my area. To extract factor based on eigenvalue and other criteria, to specify factors based on theory and previous research because it is already tested. To output is to provide factor loading, commonalities, eigenvalues, screens, plots, and all this part. In this part, factor loading, error variance, factor correlation, model fit. Now, important thing is we apply factor analysis in both part, but we are talking about model fit. Model fit means what we are talking about our conceptual model, which is already tested, and whatever we are finding out with the help of our data, we make the balance, but we may find out that these two model are fit or not. If it is fit, very fine. If it is not fit, we again do work on that. The name of the factor based on substantive meaning of items. So in this part, exploratory part, we have to find out first questionnaire, and we find out that after applying factor analysis, we find out that 4 or 5 items are talking about similar parameters. So we are giving one factor to them. Just wait a minute. I just close the door.
Sir, you are not
Sir,
audible.
your voice is not audible, sir.
Sorry, I forgot to put this kind of things. Yes. So we understood this part is that on the basis of this items, we club into one part and give one meaningful factor name on this card. So this is called in EFA. But in CFA, we already understood that these items are exist in this technical factor, and we have to just statistically prove that particular part in a confirmatory way. After this, we have certain tree of this. When we're talking about this part, t-test, ANOVA, multi-way ANOVA, repeated measure growth, latent growth curve. Bivariate is regression, factor analysis, and all this part. This is the simple thing I'm talking about. When we are talking about to find out, anybody know why we apply t-test? Because maximum number of students are uh, research scholars here. Few numbers of people are faculty members. Can anybody tell me why we apply t-test? Anybody? When we go to the statistics, first we understand statistics, then we'll move towards structural equation modeling. Why we apply t-test? I'm audible? I think.
So
Hello,
two
Bhavna ma'am, I'm audible?
difference between two variable to find out.
Simple. When we find out the difference between two variable, sale of company A, sale of company B, there are three type of t-tests are there. One sample t-test, two sample t-test, or is pre and post analysis. In one sample t-test, if मैं आपको थोड़ा सा क्लियर कर दूं स्टैटिस्टिक्स के बारे में, so you able to understand why we apply all these tests, because you all are research scholars. So before going to structural equation modeling, we have to understand the prerequisition of this test. Now t-test is basically is used when we talk about to find out the difference between two variable, and we need to find out the difference of this. And t-test have against three factors, three partitions or three type of t factors are there. First is one sample. Second is independent sample, two-way sample. Third is talking about your pre and post analysis. In one sample t-test, we call it as we are taking only one sample. One sample means example in front of you is for one sample t-test is one sample is, let's suppose one company like Toyota is talking about one thing that if you drive my car Toyota, it will give you the mileage of 27 per liter. So this is claim done by Toyota towards the one car is Crista Innova, let's suppose. So how would you check this? Can anybody tell me how would you check this? The question is, if Toyota is claiming that कि my Innova Crista car is giving 27 mileage per liter, so as a researcher, how we find out it? If you have any idea how we find out it?
So company done a survey on that particular thing
How would you do survey? What kind
by
of data you are
asking
collecting?
by different ways, by filling the form, questionnaire, by observing.
Okay, actually very fine. So that's why I'm telling you. That's why I've included this chart in my PPT because we where we apply t-test, ANOVA, multiple regression, factor analysis, structural equation modeling, and all this part. So first of all, we're talking about t-test, parametric and non-parametric test. So these are the parametric test, which is talking about Likert scale data. Now this is t-test. First type of t-test is independent sample t-test. The question repeated again that the company is claiming that 27 liter per mileage. How would you test? We collect different we collect data from different showrooms, different cars. Let's suppose we are taking 50 people, 50 cars, and collecting data that first we run first car, second car, third car, fourth car, fifth car. On the basis of this, or either we ask to the people those who are using this Innova car. So we are collecting data from these people those who are using Innova car. I'm asking that whether how many what mileage your car is giving to you. Some people say that 25, some people say that 27, some people say that 13, some people say that 19, 20, like this. So you collect 50 respondent data, but it is only one sample. We are collecting on the basis of mileage only, and these kind of situations are coming. We apply one sample t-test where we are talking to about one sample, which is called it as mileage. Second example is, if one gym is talking about, one gym is claiming that we are reducing your weight 5 kg in a 3 months or one in a month. What we have to do? We have to take respondent of these gym 40, 30, 20 people and asking that how much weight you have reduced in 1 month. Some said that 2, some said that 3 kg, some said that 5 kg, and we are taking the average of this. But in this case we are taking only one sample, that is weight. So that's why we apply one sample t-test on this part. Second is your two sample or independent sample t-test. This independent sample t-test is talking about when we are finding out the difference between two different variable. Example is sale of Apple is finding out the difference between sale of Samsung. So there are two independent variables are there, that is talking
Apple
about
and Samsung.
yeah, on performance of A company employees and performance of B company employees. We call it as two sample t-test or independent sample t-test. Both factors are independent, and we have to find out the difference between both of them. Then we apply independent sample t-test. Third one is pre and post. Pre and post means we have to, these are basically tested in medical science or something else. Let's suppose we are talking about, or we're talking about when we are giving training to employees, before training score and after training scores. We are taking one test before training, that these are the questionnaire, these are the test. You're giving aptitude test, something else before training, and your score is this. And we have to check after giving training of 1 month, 2 months, we again check the score of these people. So at that time, that situations, we apply pre and post analysis of t-test. Before giving training and after giving training, we apply t-test. Very clear. Variables are only two. The first one is before and after one is afterwards. So this in these three situation, in these three area, in these three type of data, we apply t-test. Everybody is clear? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Why I am
Yes,
talking
sir.
about this? Because most
excuse
of
me,
the
sir.
people are belongs to, yeah, yeah.
Sir,
Yes, yes, Rajesh ji, please.
सर मेरा एक क्वेश्चन है सर, जो ये टी टेस्ट आप बता रहे हैं सर, ये तो स्मॉल क्वेश्चन ईयर पे लगेगा ना, जब हम
हम्म,
पायलट्स वो करेंगे, पायलट्स
हम्म।
मतलब 50 क्वेश्चंस या क्वेश्चन ईयर या 100 क्वेश्चन ईयर्स पे यूज होगा ये, इससे
नहीं
ज्यादा
नहीं,
पे
it
तो
is
यूज
not
नहीं
like
कर
this.
सकते।
We can use it. We can use in our thesis also. Let's suppose you want to find out the difference between the perception of male and female.
ओके
The
सर।
prerequisite of t-test is your sample size is more than 30.
नहीं
Understood?
सर, अगर हमारा सैंपल साइज मान लो 450 है, तो ये टी टेस्ट होगा सर?
Yes, applicable hoga. In 450, let's suppose Rajesh ji, in 450, you have segregation of male and female. Let's suppose I'm giving example of male and female. We have in 450, you have some males and some females are there. So how would you find out the difference between male and female? We apply t-test here. This that test is independent sample t-test, not one way, no pre and post. Now we apply independent sample t-test because male and female are two independent variables, and on the basis of that we find out the difference between, and we apply in thesis also. How would
सर
you find
सर
out? Yeah.
सर जैसे आप ये कह रहे हो ना मेल एंड फीमेल, इसमें तो ठीक है, लेकिन जो आपने वो इनोवा वाला क्वेश्चन लिया है 27 लीटर्स का,
That is one sample t-test. ये आपके thesis में होता ही नहीं है. That is, देखिए,
हाँ
when I'm talking about
सर उसमें
t-test,
नहीं होगा ना ये,
नहीं उसमें
कंपैरिजन में
sample
यूज हो
नहीं
जाएगा।
लगेगा. उसमें टी टेस्ट आपका इंडिपेंडेंट लगेगा, आइदर ऑन रूरल बेसिस पे, जैसे अर्बन एंड रूरल है तो उस पे टी टेस्ट लगेगा.
हाँ जी सर,
इन चीजों
कंपैरिजन में
में
लग
आपका,
जाएगा,
यस,
कंपैरिजन में
कंपैरिजन.
लगेगा।
जी,
ठीक है सर, थैंक यू सर।
understood. That's why I'm adding this slide in this, because we have to understand first what our tests are there. Now ANOVA is, what is the full form of ANOVA? Anybody have idea?
Analysis of variance.
Yes, analysis of variances, absolutely true. Now when we're talking about t-test, when we have two variables, we apply t-test. But when we have more than two variables, we are not able to find out the difference between three variable on one single platform. Understood. So we have introduced, researchers have introduced new way of finding out this thing is ANOVA. ANOVA means analysis of variances. Means more than two variables are there and the sample size is more than 30 and all this part. So analysis of variance is used when we have more than two variables and we want to find out the difference between more than two variables. Let's suppose talking about your income category, or you're talking about your occupations, fine. When you're talking about occupation, let's suppose your occupation is farmer, your occupation is private job, your occupation is government job, your occupation is businessman. So when we have more than two variable, we are using ANOVA here. In your thesis, when you're collecting your data on demographic part, when you're finding out and asking question related to occupation, so you make categories, categorical data, categories. You're talking about farmers, you're talking about private, you're talking about government, you're talking about businessman. So how do you find out the difference between all of them? We are not applying t-test here. We apply ANOVA to find out the difference between more than two variables and all this part. And in this part, more than three, four, five multi-way ANOVA is talking about. So I'm not going in a deep manner. So you have to understand this part. Second is bivariate correlation. This bivariate correlation is talking about factor analysis, which we have discussed about this, exploratory factor and confirmatory factor. The confirmatory factor is leading towards structural equation modeling. First thing, now bivariate correlation is multiple regression. Can anybody tell me about what do you mean by regression and why we apply regression? First question is, what do you mean by regression? Second question is, why we apply regression?
Sir, after correlation, we will find regression. It shows a dependency of one variable to other variable.
कॉज और इफेक्ट रिलेशनशिप से फाइंड आउट करते हैं।
Cause and effect relationship, impact of one factor on another factor, very fine. Anything else? Okay, very fine, good. So when I'm talking about this first is regression. We understood first is regression. In regression, these are not tests, these are society situations. On these situations, we apply t-test, nova, and all this part. Similarly, we have certain situations that some cause and effect relationship are there. Cause and effect means if supply prices increases, demand goes down. Understood? If something has happened, independent variable, something else. There are two things are considered here. One is independent factor, second is dependent factor. So when I'm talking about independent factor are those factors which impact your dependent factor, which is a cause by which we our dependent variable analysis, dependent variable values are changing. Example in front of you is talking about, let's suppose I'm giving example of your eating habits. If you eat more, let's suppose eating more will increase your obesity. Understood? So this is simple regression, a simple independent dependent relationship, that eating more is independent factor and dependent factor is your obesity. Obesity is not affecting your eating habits. Eating habits is impacting your obesity. Higher you are eating, your obesity is increasing. Higher you are eating, your obesity is reducing. Let's suppose. So this is only simple way of independent dependent. But when we need to study more variable, as we give an example of marks of mathematics or something, so obesity is occur not only from eating habits, not only from eating habits. So we have lots of factors to understand it. Otherwise, researchers are not able to find out another factors to find out these kinds of things. So multiple regression is talking about when we are studying multiple independent variable, the impact of multiple independent variable on multiple dependent variable or single dependent variable. So obesity, the eating habits is not only a factor to increase your obesity as a dependent factors. There are lots of factors are there, not doing exercise, stress, your working habits, your working environment. So these are the multiple independent factors which impacting your obesity. Now, regression, what regression do? Regression find out the impact of all these factors on obesity, impact of independent factor on dependent variable. So independent factor is five factors are independent, let's suppose. So out of these five factors, multiple regression is find out that these are impacting, let's suppose first factor is impacting 10%, second factor is impacting 20%, third factor is impacting 40%, fourth factor is impacting 30%. So we have to find out that these are impacting on our dependent variable, but we also find out one thing that these third one, which we call it as 40% impact on obesity, is called eating habit, let's suppose. So this is important factor to consideration to analyze and make strategy according to that, because this is impacting more a lot. So this regression is finding out which factor is impacting most to your dependent variable, and we need to make strategy on the basis of this. So this is multiple regression. But when we're talking about structural equation modeling, this multiple regression lead to structural equation modeling. We have certain parameters are there. So impact factors, we are checking impact of independent variable on dependent variable. That's very fine. We find on regression. But why we use structural equation modeling? Because we are talking about in multiple regression, we are just finding out impact and correlation between two variables. Fine. But in structural equation modeling, we have to find out what is the relationship between and among variables also. मीन्स यहाँ तो सिर्फ रिग्रेशन में हम क्या पता कर रहे हैं, सिंपल रिग्रेशन में, कि इंडिपेंडेंट वेरिएबल्स का डिपेंडेंट वेरिएबल पे क्या इम्पैक्ट है, सिर्फ इतना ही, और रिलेशन क्या है, कोरिलेशन सिर्फ इंडिपेंडेंट का डिपेंडेंट में. जब हम एमओस लगाते हैं, जब हम स्ट्रक्चरल इक्वेशन मॉडल लगाते हैं, जब सैम लगाते हैं, in this part the beauty of the SAM is that they find out the impact and correlation between your independent and dependent variable. Very fine. ये तो करता ही करता है. इसकी एक्सटेंशन ये है, why we people are using this, they finding out the correlation among the variables. Regression is impacting check करता है, among the variable is आपका obesity is dependent variable, independent variable is your workplace, your eating habits, your uh, another things. So they're finding out correlation and relation between among all these independent factor also. So we want to find out that whether they are impacting each other, whether they have correlation between each other or not. So why we are talking about this? No, we have only 40 minutes left, so we are moving towards our structural equation modeling. So you have understood this part that so-called second generation data analysis method is called structural equation modeling. Why we call it a second generation? Because we already confirm our factors in previous stages like factor analysis and confirmatory factor analysis. Now we have confirmed these 4 and 5 factor is मॉडल फिट विद अवर व्हाट वी हैव टू फाइंड आउट विद द हेल्प ऑफ अवर सैंपल साइज जो हम सैंपल साइज से फाइंड आउट करेंगे और जो कंफर्मेटरी फैक्टर एनालिसिस हमें थ्योरी से मिला है प्रूवन थ्योरी से मिला है उन दोनों के बीच में कोई गुडनेस ऑफ फिट इंडेक्स है कि नहीं गुडनेस होगा तो वेरीफाइड नहीं होगा तो हम चेंज करेंगे तो फर्स्ट जनरेशन इज टॉकिंग मल्टीवेरिएट कोवेरिएंस so this is second generation data, not giving much time on this. Now, when we have simple calculations, t-test, ANOVA, we are not applying structural equation modeling. When we are talking about simple impact of one independent factor on independent factor, we cannot find out this structural equation modeling. When we are finding out, we have complex research models, multiple association between multiple independent and multiple dependence variable. Understood? So when we have multiple independent variable, when we have multiple dependent variable, so we are talking about, just give me a time, the laptop charging. Yes. So when we're talking about multiple independent variable and multiple dependent variable, then we apply structural equation modeling because structural equation modeling help us to find out the impact of independent variables and dependent variable between factor and among the factor उनके बीच में भी और उनके साथ में भी that is called it as your structural equation modeling. Now moving towards this, and these are the theories of this. There are two kind of models are there. Measurement model. So in this part, measurement model theory specify how measured variable come together and represent the theory. Structure model is talking about how structured constructs are related to each other or not. So in this part, we will do later on when we are going to discuss about our when we open the platform of our SEM. So there are lots of softwares available in the market. Those who are applying SEM, Lizrel. First is Lizrel is talking about MOS, EQS, M plus SAS. But the most famous is MOS. So now we're talking about component of MOS. I'll show you what kind of MOS files are. This is new one. I'll just opening new. This one, right? So this is a new platform of your MOS. Either you download from SPSS, so IBM sites. When you go to IBM sites, you have to find out SPS. This one, IBM for MOS. You can download student version also, fine. On in this part, you can download MOS version or student version for this. IBM MOS 26 are there. So these are the options that you have to talk about available of your just give me 1 minute contact sales. So these are the ways because it's a very costly softwares. First you need to talk about the student version of this. So student version we have to talk about download MOS, IBM download MOS, SPSS MOS. I think network is not good. So you can
Sir, it
download
is a
from,
free version or paid version?
actually the thing is that the student version is free but is limited to I think 30 days or 40 days, fine. But you can find out lots of crack version of this. You can find out lots of crack version of this with the maybe I'll share with you the crack version of this. But when you download it, it will work for only 30 days or 40 days. That is student version of this. These are the things, right? So if you say that we will provide you the SAM software, MOS softwares, and you can download it also because but it is paid form, but it is trial version form. So you can download it. So when we open the interface
Sir,
of our yeah,
excuse me,
please.
sir.
Yes.
पीएसपीपी भी तो है सर सॉफ्टवेयर, वो इसी की कॉपी है सर फ्री वर्जन में।
कौन सा?
पीएसपीपी।
PSPP नहीं है, SPSS।
नहीं सर, एक हो रहा है, मतलब वो भी सेम वर्क करता है वैसे।
देखिए, when we apply structural equation modeling, we can apply structural equation modeling literal, R Studio, PA, and all this part, which we have shown in this PPT. Just one. So these are the certain softwares you can apply anywhere else. I don't know about that particular part, but famous is this MOS, Literal, EQS, M plus, and SAS. But right now, MOS is most important part. An extension of this is PLS. PLS is also one of the software. Now, no need to spend more time on this because we have only left for 26 minutes. So we are talking about this part. So when we able to understand this things, first we need to understand, go to the interface of this. When we open any MOS software, let's suppose we have downloaded it, install it. When you open it, the first interface is like this. So we have file, audit, views, diagram, and all this part. एक मिनट सर.
हम्म।
Hello, everybody. So just give me, sorry for inconvenience. Director sir is calling me. Just give me 5 or 4 minutes. I'll come back within 5 minutes with your permission.
ओके।
ओके सर।
Yeah, please wait for 5 minutes. Director
Okay,
ma'am
sir.
is calling me.
Sure, sir.
Just
Yes sir,
loud.
you are audible.
Hello, I'm audible to everybody.
Yes sir.
यस सर, यस
Sorry
सर।
for inconvenience. Director ma'am called me for some time for some reason. Chali, without wasting our time because we have less time, half an hour here. So we are talking about introduction of this part. We have understood the theoretical part, the statistical part of your this SAM model, and where we have to apply SAM. In exploratory factor, we're not able to apply SAM. We apply on confirmatory factor analysis, which is already confirmed by the theory or review of literature. And on the basis of that, we have confirmed our hypothesis model and our standardized model. So on the basis of that, this is the first dashboard or interface of your this where is that? Yes. Moving ahead, these are the first interface when you're talking about these rectangular form, oval form, ellipse form, and this is data latent variable indicators, and these are the things. We just call it as one by one. We'll do it. First, we able to understand what is the meaning of exogenous and endogenous variable. In every research, we call it as, in every research, we have to talk about two factors, which is called it as independent variable. Second is dependent variable. So in independent variable and dependent variable, in multivariate analysis, we call it as the n number of independent variables and n number of or two or three, four, five dependent variable. So we have to find out the impact covariance between these two factors, and every software has their own language. So when you're talking about this language, we are not call it as independent dependent variable. We call it as exogenous and endogenous variable. When I'm talking about exogenous constructs, these constructs are talking about independent variables. So when we talk about in SAM, exogenous construct, exogenous variable, we call it as independent variable. When we're talking about endogenous constructs, we call it as dependent variable, multi-item equivalent to dependent variable. So we have to find out the relation or impact between exogenous and endogenous. This is the terminology of your MOS. And we are called it as latent constructs or hypothetical unobserved variables. So find out the difference between observed and unobserved variable. Now, observed variable is talking about, we have to talk about, we have observed directly. An unobserved variable is talking about with the help of certain items we able to observe certain things. Examples, let's suppose if I'm giving example of this one, this thing. So when we're talking about observed and unobserved variable, so observed variable is, which is this one is uh, observed variable is this one, unobserved is this one. So observed variable is your statements, which we call it as this part, and this is unobserved variable where we're talking about without the help of these items, without the help of these statements, we cannot measure environment. If we are directly asking a question that whether you're eco-friendly, environment friendly or not, this is not solving our purpose. So we have to ask a number of questions, whether you are contributing towards environment, whether you are talking about environment packaging foods, whether you are taken care of environment friendly packaging while you are buying your product and services. So we are asking n number of questions. So in this part, these are observed variables, these are unobserved variables are there. So with the help of certain items, we observe, we measure these kind of things. So this is all about your all these things. Now when we apply structural equation modeling, we understood one thing, that we have confirmatory factor analysis or confirmatory hypothetical model, which is already proven by the review of literature. Now we confirm that these factors, these 4 5 factor, which is already confirmed by theory, which is already confirmed by review of literature, whether this is applicable in our this sector or not, whether it is have good fitness of model, good fitness of index with our that values which is we collected on the basis of data collection, and on the basis of that data collection we collect certain values. This sample data construct value and hypothetical construct value have goodness of index or goodness of fit or not. If it is goodness of fitness, it is applicable that this confirmatory factor analysis have a good fitness model with their actual model which we have measured. So this is applicable. If it is not applicable, not goodness of fit index values are coming, so we call it as what we have collected and what we have talking about hypothetical model. These two values are not good fit model, and we have to check either our hypothetical model, either we check our sample size model. But hypothetical model we are not checking because it is already talking about people are already done work on this and proves that these are the variables which help to find out intention. But you need to check your questionnaire, you need to check your sample collection data. So the problem is in your sample collection data, or maybe vice versa. Critics are always welcome in this research part of this. Now these are the certain things you have to understand before applying this structural equation modeling. We call it as this circle, oval shape. We call it as oval shape. In this such as SAM value or SAM terminologies, we also call it as ellipse or circle or this oval shape. Oval shapes are this: the latent variable, factor or constructs. When we are using this, we are creating a latent variable or a factor. When we are talking about rectangles, observed variables, measure, indicators, and manifest variables. These are used for observed variable items, statements. On the basis of that, we find out our unobserved variable. Understood? This direction is called it as direction of influence, relationship from one variable to another. It means that one is independent variable. Here we putting independent variable. Here we put independent variable. So it shows the direction of that this independent variable is moving towards dependent variable. That is single arrow. We call it a single arrow which finding or which tell about the direction or relationship. Now this one is second one is important one. This two arrow is talking about covariance. This two arrow is talking about association between two variables, two factors. It is talking about pathway from the effect of independent factor, impact of independent on dependent. That is called it as your this part. This is covariance or variance. When we find out the relationship between association between two variables, whether eating habits and your sleeping habits are correlated with each other or not, whether eating habits and all these parts are correlated with each other. So keep in mind all these arrows and all this part. we are going to understand this part. Let's suppose first we do this thing, then we will move towards our this part. Relationship between construct and measure variable. This is the way. Single arrow. This is independent variable. This is your constructs is there. And these are the relationship between construct multiple variable, multiple things. We will do it on. These are the manifest variables. Now do not waste our time on this because we have 20 minutes. So we are moving to how to create the diagrams. Let's suppose we have this thing. We have first factor is technological factor, let's suppose. Second factor is regulatory. Third factor is human value. And fourth is security. And fifth is user intention factors. So when we're talking about these factors, these are latent variables. What we call it as in this term,